Welcome back to MGM, a great place for casual gaming. Today we have Grimdark Future by one-page rules. The Dark Brothers attempt to spoil the efforts of the Plague Disciples in a 2,000 point match. We'll be using the 3.1 rules today, and we'll be using mission cards, rolling a d66 to determine what our objectives are for the turn. Each player will roll up for 3 initial objectives. At the end of the turn, a player may discard an objective deemed unachievable. Players will score and discard the highest objective they can and roll back up to 3. Let's take a look at the Plague Disciples. The Plague Disciples are led by a Plague Destroyer champion with Great Scythe. He's a chosen veteran and a Plague Lord. He'll be attached to a unit of Plague Destroyers with Storm Rifles, a Great Plague Flail, and a Plague Launcher. Accompanying them will be units of Plague Brothers with various equipment, a unit of Plague Zombies, a Plague Tank, and a Plague Drone, in total 1,970 points. The Dark Prime Brothers bring a Dark Master Destroyer upgraded to a Captain. He carries a Rapid Storm Rifle and Energy Sword. He is attached to a unit of Dark Destroyers with Minigun. They will have 2 other units of Dark Destroyers with Cyclone Missiles. Forming up the ranks are 2 units of Dark Prime Brothers with Heavy Assault Rifles. They have been upgraded to Veteran Infantry, in total 1,990 points. In today's match, we rolled up for deploying on the table corners. With deployment complete, the Plague Brothers have placed their units in 4 positions, mainly in the middle. The Dark Brothers only have their 2 units of Prime Brothers on the board. The destroyers for both sides are in orbit, waiting for the opportunity to ambush. We're scheduled for 4 turns today, and turn 1 is coming up next. Initiative goes over to the Plague Disciples for turn 1. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoy the game. And for turn 1, the Plague Disciples have rolled up for Lay Them Low, Control number 1, and Show No Mercy. The Dark Prime Brothers have In the Trenches, Lay Them Low, and Control number 5, and we do have a Dark Assault coming in. They can enter on any turn, some of these destroyers coming onto the board. Turn 1, over to the Plague Disciples, the Plague Tank moves forward. It is fast. It's going to fire all of its weaponry at the Dark Brothers. The Demolition Cannon fires, suffering a -1 to hit here because it is indirect. It does ignore cover, however, and needs a 4. That is going to hit. This hit multiplies across the unit with Blast 6, and it is AP 4, so they need 6s in order to save. Only 1 is passed, 4 of them are cut down. Twin laser cannons then fire at the same unit. 2 attacks, and this is AP 3, Deadly 3, so the hits would be multiplied by 3, and he is going to get 1 hit here. AP 3 takes his defense to a 5, Deadly 3 means 3 of these attacks are coming out. Those are going to fail, that unit's off the board. With a unit of Dark Destroyers attempting to control Objective 5, a Cyclone Missile Launcher fires into the Plague Drone but misses. 3 Storm Rifles then rattle off with 3 attacks each, 9 in total, hitting on their quality, which is 3, and that is going to be all but 2. AP1 takes that Plague Drone to a 3-up save, and he's going to take quite a few wounds here. We'll get regen rolls on the ones that miss, however. Regen just means that you take these wounds, roll them, and on a 5-up, they do not go through. It will be unsuccessful, however, and the Plague Drone takes 4 wounds. With the Plague Drone down to 2 wounds, it does activate next, and it is going to charge into that unit of destroyers, hoping to cause some damage before it goes out of action. It does have a Meat Grinder, which is rending, so on a 6+, it'll be resolved at AP 4. The Meat Grinder gets 8 attacks, and there's also 2 for impact, so we do roll out the Meat Grinder first. A lot of good successful hits out there, and then we have 2 more for impact as it gets 2 additional attacks on the charge. 1 more of those will convert. There's no AP on this weapon. We will resolve the 2 rending first. Both of those will fail. That'll be 2 wounds, and then we roll up the rest. Defense of 3, and 1 more will fail. That is going to take down a model. The destroyers fight back with 2 energy fists, 3 attacks each, needing 3s, and they will have 3 of those that are successful. AP 4 on these energy fists will take this to a 6 in order to save. 2 are going to be failed, but we will see regen rolls here, needing a 5 up to prevent them. Does not happen, and that plague drone is destroyed. The initiative swings back over to the Plague Disciples, where Plague Brothers are going to activate Issue and Advance Order, and they are going to move into firing range of those destroyers. With the Plague Spewer out of range, they will let loose with 3 of their heavy rifles. They get 1 attack each, and they're +1 to hit, so needing 2s. Due to them being chosen veterans, all 3 go through, and it looks like 2 saves are failed at AP 1. With one of those destroyers on 1 wound, we remember that we have another unit of Dark Brothers on the board, and they should have went this turn, but they were going to just do this anyway and move forward, trying to take some cover, get out of line of sight, and have ease of access to 2 objectives. We then move over to the Plague Zombies, who are going to move. They are using a rush order. They are slow, so they are unable to make a charge onto the destroyers. Remaining moves stay with the Plague Disciples, as these Plague Brothers are going to play a rush, moving forward towards the objectives. And that brings us to the end of turn 1. The Plague Destroyers will score a victory point for Lay Them Low. The Dark Prime Brothers also scoring a victory point for Lay Them Low. That is just destroying an enemy unit. The score is tied at 1-1. The Disciples draw new objectives. They're after objectives 1 and 6, and the Dark Brothers are after number 3, 5, and also trying to beat a unit in combat. We do have assaults coming in this turn. We rolled up to see who comes in first. The Dark Brothers drop in some destroyers, and then the Plague Disciples drop in some destroyers with their leader as well. The last unit of Dark Destroyers with their captain make their way onto the board as well out of ambush. Turn 2 initiative goes over to the Dark Brothers, and we do have the infantry moving to objective 3. If they can hold this objective at the end of the turn, it would be worth victory points. We do have Plague Brothers that are going to play in advance as they move towards objective 6. They are just moving out of charge range from these Dark Destroyers, and they are going to let loose with their heavy rifles. 3 shots from those heavy rifles. Should need 2s here, as they are veterans. I believe we just counted their quality of 3, so 2 hits would go through. And at AP 1, both 4s, those are blocked. Dark Destroyers, knowing that Objective 1 is extremely important to the Plague Disciples, elect to charge in. And there will be 3 Energy Fists in this unit, 3 attacks each, 9 in total, hitting on their quality, which is 3. 7 hits connect at AP 4, and these Plague Marines will need 6s in order to block these hits. They only get 1, but they do have regen, so on a 5 up, they can ignore some wounds, and not bad here, only 3 wounds go through. The Plague Brothers strike back. One in this unit has an Energy Fist with 2 attacks. The other just has a close combat weapon. All of these are going to hit. The 2 Energy Fists are resolved. It's AP 4 and 6s are going to block both of those. The other one is going to be blocked as well, as there's no AP. So they will lose, take a morale test, they will fail and rout. So just like that, the right flank of the Plague Disciples has freed up a consolidation move from these destroyers. They make it out of that combat unscathed. The Plague Zombies now charge in to the destroyers on Objective 5, and they are going to throw 20 attacks into these destroyers, hitting on 5s, however. The destroyers find themselves completely surrounded by these Plague Zombies, and with 20 attacks needing 5s, 10 of them are successful. There is no AP on this weapon, so just needing their defense of 3 in order to block these hits, and it's a pretty good roll for them. Only 1 failed, 1 wound. This does cause a casualty as there was only one wound left on that destroyer. They do elect to swing back, and there's going to be one hit on the board. Needing 6s to block it, it does not happen, so one wound on the zombies. They stay locked in combat. We go to the Dark Brothers, where these destroyers are going to advance forward, and they are going to fire their weapons at the Plague Brothers in front of them, first with the minigun. The minigun has 4 attacks, hitting on their quality, which is 3. And that's going to be 3 total hits. AP1 will take them to a 4-up save. And 1 is going to be failed, so a regen roll will be taken and is successful. Storm rifles then fire, including the rapid fire storm rifle from the captain. They are also hitting on 3s. And it's a terrific roll. These are resolved at AP1, again, taking their defense to a 4. And rolling out for saves, not so good this time, and the majority of this unit will be cut down after regen rolls are taken. The unit of 5 becomes 2, that forces a morale check, so rolling up, looking for a 3, they are going to fail and become shaken. The Plague Tank, going for point denial here against the Prime Brothers, is going to launch an assault into the infantry here. He is fast and able to make this charge. The impact of the charge gives him 6 attacks, hitting on his quality, which is 3, and it looks like only 1 will miss. That's 5 hits, but they are a defensive 2, so only 1 will fail. The infantry does swing back, trying to do something, and they need 3s in order to hit, and they land 3, but the Plague Tank has a defensive 2, and it is fine. Losing in melee forces a morale check, and they fail, so this will count as passed, but 1 more will be removed from combat. Back on Objective 5, the lone Dark Destroyer will fire a Storm Rifle, 3 shots on 3s. He does connect with 2 of these, and these guys will need 6s in order to block with regen. So they do block 1, the regen would fail, and 1 of them would be removed. Towards the center of the board, the Plague Destroyers are going to move with the HQ to occupy Objective 6. This would score them a victory point if they can hold it. That unit does elect to fire into the approaching HQ Destroyer unit. The Plague Launcher hits, the blast multiplies it by 3, and they all fail. That takes down one of the Destroyers. They do have a Storm Rifle in that group, firing as well with 3 shots, hitting on their quality of 3, and those are all good. AP1, putting them on a 4-up save, and they all fail again. That unit goes down to half strength, passes a morale check, and they will stay in the fight as turn 2 comes to a close. So the Plague Disciples will score a point for holding Objective 6 at the end of the turn. The Dark Brothers will score in the trenches for taking out a unit in melee. New objectives are drawn, turn 3 is upon us. As the Dark Brothers have the initiative and they charge into the Plague Zombies, they're after Objectives 1, 3, and 5. The Plague Disciples are after Objective 2, 1, and they're also trying to force a morale check. In turn 3, the Captain and his Destroyers land quite a few hits. The Zombies, however, do make 1 save. They will take regen rolls here, needing a 5+, and that isn't going to work to their benefit. 3 of them will be chopped down. The Plague Zombies elect not to swing back, but they do have to take a morale check, and because they are undead, we are going to roll and see how many of them actually stick around. So while the morale check counts as passed, we roll a die for every model left in the unit, and on a 1 to 3, they will crumble. So 4 of them actually turn to dust, and there's 1 left. He attempts to attack, he doesn't land any hits. The Destroyer hits back twice, and it needs 6s in order to block. He gets 1, and then he will get a regen roll on this. He needs a 5 to stay up, and he does. That objective remains contested. Back towards Objective 1, we have Dark Destroyers that are going to fire a missile and hit the Plague Tank. This is Deadly 3. 2 will fail. It does get regen on a 5+. Only 1 wound comes off the tank. The Storm Rifles then fire as well. Should have been 9 here. We only rolled 6. AP1 puts this plague tank on a 3-up, and 2 of them are going to fail, but it will get regen rolls here. And on a 5+, the wounds are ignored. It only takes 1 more wound, down to 10. Next we have Plague Destroyers that are moving off of Objective 6, and they are headed towards Objective 2. We then have the Lone Destroyer that is going to fire his Storm Rifle, connect twice, and then it will be blocked. Regen fails this time, and that last Plague Zombie is just taken down. The Plague Tank activates next, attempts to fire its main cannon point blank with the lasers, but everything is going to miss. Storm Rifles fire needing 3s, and 2 of them are going to connect. Defense will be 2, AP1 takes it to a 3, both are blocked, and these guys are going to charge into contact with this thing. They do get 3 hits, but it is defense 2, so all of them are going to be blocked. Turn 3 comes to a close. The Plague Disciples do control Objective 2 for a victory point. The Dark Brothers at long last control Objective 5 for a victory point. We go into turn 4 tied. Plague Disciples roll up to control all objectives or to hold Objective 5. Brothers are looking towards Objective 3 or to control 3 objectives across the board. With the Plague Disciples taking the initiative, they fire point blank into the Marines and end up taking them out with the Demolition Cannon. With the Dark Brothers unable to score Objective 3, the Dark Destroyers are going to play a rush, and they are just looking to take Objective 1 here and block off the Plague Disciples from getting to it. On the other side of the board, we do have some Plague Brothers, only 2 of them. They are no longer shaken, so they are able to move to Objective 6. The Captain plays Advanced Tactics, allowing this Dark Destroyer unit to move 6 inches. He is then going to play a rush, getting to Objective 5. And it looks like the game could potentially come down to this, as we do have a charge from the Plague Destroyers. The Champion has a Great Scythe, 2 attacks at AP4, and it's deadly 3. He is also a chosen veteran, so he will hit on 2s. He only gets 1, but it is deadly 3, so having to roll up 3 to block, and AP4 we're looking for 6s. It does cut down one of the destroyers. We have a Great Plague Flail swinging next. It hits twice. It is Blast, and both saves at AP1 are made. The Energy Axe and Energy Sword swing next. The Axe is deadly 3. AP2 puts him on 5-up saves, and 1 wound goes through. The Energy Sword is AP1, puts him on a 4-up save, and those are all failed, so 1 more destroyer is taken down. It will not be enough damage, however, to take down the unit. He does swing back with his Energy Fist, getting 1 hit, AP4. He does cause 1 wound. The morale test is passed, and that unit will back off the objective. And while that unit becomes shaken, they do control Objective 1, and this gives the Dark Brothers control of 3 objectives on the board. They will take 1 extra VP, while the Plague Disciples do not score in this round. The Dark Prime Brothers will pick up 2 VP for tactical precision, and they are going to take the game by a score of 5-3. And that wraps up our presentation of Grimdark Future. Really hope you enjoyed the game. There have been a lot of changes and updates to Grimdark Future over the last few years, and it really feels like something that is totally worth playing. The amount of customization and the rules are just really coming together to find itself, and I hope you try it out at some point in the future. We really appreciate you watching the game today. Thank you so much to the Supporters Club. Your names are on the screen now. If you'd like any information on that, a link will be down below. Quite frankly, if you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support our channel. Just leave us a like. It's all good. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.